Ethan entered the room as if he already knew what to expect, with that mix of anxiety and curiosity. It had been 10 years since he had seen most of his friends, and he was curious to see how they had all changed. He saw Alicia sitting in the corner of the room, and there was a genuine sadness in her eyes, shining as if they reflected a dark light. The scar running across her face was a constant reminder of the accident that impacted her life. "Ethan," Jess shouted, waving him over. "Come join us." Jess was the former student council president, but Ethan could hardly bring himself to look beyond Alicia, who clearly seemed uncomfortable and alone. "Hey, Alicia," Ethan waved, walking toward her. "How are you feeling?" Alicia smiled. "I'm fine, Ethan. And you?" Ethan looked straight into her eyes and knew she wasn't. "I'm here if you need anything." It was at that moment that Will, one of the bullies in the room, approached. "Hey, Alicia, what's life like with a scar now? Bet it's pretty hard to get a good job now, huh?" He laughed maliciously. Ethan felt anger almost burn inside him. "Cut it out, Will," he said sternly. "That's not funny. You should show more respect." He stepped toward him. "Alicia doesn't deserve this." The room went silent around them, with people casting sidelong glances. Ethan knew he would have to do more than talk to protect Alicia. That's when he knew he would do absolutely anything to ensure she stayed safe. After all, she had always been there for him. Alicia truly thanked Ethan with a look of gratitude, still recovering. She knew the reunion wouldn't be easy for her, but she didn't expect it to be this painful. "Let's get out of here, Alicia," Ethan said. "We should go somewhere quieter to talk." She agreed, and they headed to a nearby cafe. As they walked toward the cafe, Alicia felt that Ethan was just as pleasant and kind as he had been in high school. He was the kind of friend you could rely on to stand by your side in any situation, no matter how bad it got. When they finally sat down at the cafe, Ethan asked, "You remember how we met, right?" Alicia smiled faintly, recalling school. "Of course." Ethan laughed. "You were that brave girl who came to talk to me, the weird kid who always sat in the corner of the library. You were the only one who had the courage to talk to me. That time you helped me with the history project. I'll never forget," Ethan said. Alicia's eyes filled with tears. "So now I'm the one who needs help." She lightly touched the scar on her face. "Everything changed with that accident, Ethan. Sometimes I feel like I'll never get over it." Ethan squeezed her hand in response, trying to comfort her. "Alicia, you're stronger than most people I've met. That scar isn't who you are. I never forgot how caring you were to me." Alicia looked at him in amazement. "Ethan, I didn't realize it meant so much to you." He smiled, squeezing her hand. "You made a difference in my life, believe it. And now it's my turn to be here for you." As the aroma of coffee mingled with the sound of conversations around them, Ethan and Alicia fell into their own world, as if no one else was there but the two of them. Ethan continued, "I remember the day of the accident, Alicia. It was awful to hear about it. But I never knew many details. What really happened? Do you feel comfortable talking about it? If not, we can change the subject." Alicia swallowed hard. "I don't like to think back on that day, but I'll tell you what happened. I was coming home with my mom. We were in the car, and everything was fine. Out of nowhere, a crazy truck cut in front of us. I tried to swerve, but it was too late. The truck hit us, and I was trapped in the burning car." She touched her finger to the scar, her eyes filling with tears. My mom, she couldn't hold on. Alicia was visibly shaken as she recounted the story to Ethan. He tried to comfort her. Ethan squeezed her hand tightly. "Alicia, I'm so sorry. You were incredibly brave. No one can ever take that away from you." She sighed shakily, tears finally streaming down her face. "I've never been able to forgive myself, Ethan. The cruel jokes, the stares. Sometimes I think I shouldn't even be here." Ethan shook his head, his voice firm. "You're not alone, Alicia. I'll always be here. And whoever tries to hurt you will have to go through me first." Ethan's phone rang at that moment. It was a message from Jess, apologizing for Will's behavior and asking Ethan to meet up with her. Ethan felt uneasy about that message and couldn't help but sense that there was something more behind Jess's soft words. "I think she wants to talk about what happened," Ethan said, showing the text to Alicia. "But I'm not sure if we should trust her. What do you think?" Alicia thought for a moment before answering. "Well, we should give them a chance." If they're truly apologizing, we should listen. And if they're not, well, at least we know what we're getting into. Ethan agreed. Ethan and Alicia met Jess at the place she had indicated, a small park located near the abandoned school. They sat on a bench and waited. The girl finally appeared a few minutes later, clearly relieved and nervous. "Thank you for coming," she began, sitting next to them. "I need to apologize for what happened. Will was totally out of line." Ethan looked at her firmly. "Jess, it's not just about what happened yesterday. You and Will have always been so cruel to Alicia. I don't understand why." Jess sighed, genuinely regretful. "I know, Ethan. I'm really sorry. It was only after you left school that I realized what I had done, but I didn't know how to make things right." Alicia paused before continuing. "Jess, I can't just forget. The cruel jokes, the bullying, it still hurts me. But if you're really willing to change, I'm willing to listen." Jess nodded, tears filling her eyes. "I want to, Alicia. Ever since we left school, I've worked so hard to become better. I'm willing to prove it to you." Before the conversation could go further, Will abruptly entered, his mocking smile in place as he said, "Oh, what a sad scene. Is that scar going to disappear just because you want it to?" Ethan straightened up, anger bubbling up again. "That's enough, Will. You're not going to hurt Alicia anymore. And if you try, I'll make sure you pay for it." Will looked back, surprised by Ethan's newfound strength. "You've always been a coward, Ethan. What makes you think you'll make any difference now?" Ethan stepped closer, his voice calm and firm. "I'm not the shy kid from school anymore, and Alicia isn't alone. You'll learn that your actions have consequences." Jess intervened, tears streaming down her face. "Will, please stop. We've done enough harm. It doesn't have to be this way." Will looked at Jess, and his expression shifted from arrogance to confusion. He seemed unsure of how to handle this new dynamic. "You're all pathetic," he muttered before turning and walking away. There was a sigh of relief, mixed with tension for Ethan. "This is just the beginning," he said to Alicia and Jess. "But we're on the right path." "Jess, I hope those are heartfelt words," she nodded, wiping away her tears. "They are, Ethan, and I'll do what I can to prove it." Alicia looked at Ethan, a small smile on her lips. "Thank you for supporting me, Ethan. It really means a lot." Ethan smiled back. "Always, Alicia, always." "Well, Ethan," Alicia said, "I never thought I'd find the strength to get through all this. You've given me a new perspective." Ethan smiled and took her hand. "Alicia, you've always been that way. I just helped you see it. And honestly, you've done as much for me as I've done for you." "Ethan, there's something I've never told anyone. On the day of the accident, I had a big fight with my mom. I feel like, in some way, it was my fault," Alicia explained, tears streaming down her face. Ethan hugged her tightly. "Alicia, it wasn't your fault. It was a terrible accident, but it wasn't your fault. Your mom loved you and wouldn't want you to blame yourself so much." She cried on his shoulder, and the pain came in waves. "I just wish she knew how much I loved her, and it feels like I never got the chance to say it." Ethan stroked her hair and said, "You show her love in everything you do, Alicia. And I know she knew. You know, Alicia, I have my ghosts too." Alicia looked at him. "I never knew you felt that way, Ethan. But I'm glad we found each other again. I think we needed each other more than we realized." Ethan finally felt like there was someone in his life who knew the real Ethan, and for Alicia, Ethan was her safe harbor. Jess continued to show her genuine remorse, becoming a friend. However, the shadow of Will still loomed over them, and Ethan knew they would have to face him again sooner or later. One afternoon, as Ethan and Alicia walked through downtown, they spotted Will in the distance, looking angrier than before. He approached them with long strides, his eyes blazing with hatred. "Ethan, Alicia," Will began, his voice dripping with venom. "Do you think you can just ignore me? Did you think I'd let this go?" Ethan stepped forward, shielding Alicia. "Will, that's enough. You need to move on. What you're doing won't get you anywhere." Will laughed bitterly. "You think you know everything, don't you, Ethan? But you know nothing about me. No one does." Alicia intervened. "Will, we all have our scars, but that doesn't give you the right to hurt others. You need help." Will hesitated for a brief moment. "Help? You think help will fix everything? Will it erase what happened to me?" Ethan stepped closer, his voice firm yet understanding. "Will, we can't change the past, but we can choose how we move forward. If you keep going like this, you'll end up more alone and bitter. Will looked at Ethan and Alicia, a mix of emotions crossing his face. I don't know how to change. I'm stuck in this cycle. Alicia extended her hand, a gesture of peace. We can help you, Will, but you have to want that help. You need to be willing to let go of the hate. Will looked at her hand, hesitation evident. What if I can't? Ethan smiled slightly. We all start somewhere, and sometimes the first step is just admitting you need help. Will finally took Alicia's hand, a small gesture that represented a big step. Maybe I can try. Over time, Will began to open up more about his past and the reasons behind his behavior. Ethan and Alicia, along with Jess, offered support and understanding, helping him find a path forward. Gradually, Will started showing signs of change, attending therapy sessions, and making genuine efforts to improve. One day, while Ethan and Will were working together on a community project, Will finally felt comfortable enough to share his story. You know, Ethan, he began, his voice low, when we were kids, my home life was hell. My father was abusive, and my mother was always absent. I grew up with so much anger inside me that I didn't know how to deal with it. Ethan looked at Will. I'm sorry, Will. No one should have to go through that. But you're here now, trying to change, and that's what matters. Will nodded, his eyes full of regret. I wish I had been different in school. I wish I hadn't taken my anger out on people like Alicia. I know words aren't enough, but I'm trying to be a better person. Ethan placed a comforting hand on Will's shoulder. The important thing is that you're making the effort, and I'm sure that Alicia and everyone else will see that in time. Later that day, Ethan met with Alicia and shared the conversation he had with Will. He's really trying, Alicia, and I think, over time, he can redeem himself. Alicia smiled, admiring Ethan's attitude in helping Will. I'm glad to hear that, Ethan. Everyone deserves a second chance, and I'm willing to give Will that chance. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan, Alicia, and Jess continued to support Will on his path to redemption. During a group meeting, Jess suggested that they all participate in an anti-bullying campaign at the local school. I think it would be a great way to show kids they're not alone and that they can find support, she said excitedly. Alicia agreed, seeing the opportunity to turn her pain into something positive. Yes, and we can share our stories to inspire others to overcome their own challenges. Ethan was also excited about the idea. Let's do it. And Will, I think your participation will be crucial, showing that even those who hurt others can change and make a difference. Will, though nervous, accepted the challenge. I'll do my best. I want everyone to know that change is possible, even for someone like me. The campaign was a success, with Ethan, Alicia, Jess, and Will sharing their stories and inspiring young people to be more compassionate and resilient. The positive impact they were generating in the community motivated them to continue expanding their efforts. On a sunny afternoon, Alicia invited Ethan for a walk in the park. Ethan, I've been thinking, what if we start an organization dedicated to helping victims of bullying and abuse? We could offer emotional, legal, and even therapeutic support. Ethan smiled, impressed by Alicia's vision. That would be amazing, Alicia, and I think we have the right people to make it happen. As they discussed the details, Jess and Will joined them, bringing new ideas. Jess suggested we could start with a series of workshops in schools, teaching empathy and resilience to children, and maybe even create a safe online space where they can share their stories anonymously. Will added, I could talk about my experience, showing that even those who have made mistakes can change. I think it could have a big impact. The four of them began planning and dividing tasks to bring the idea to life. The local community, which had already seen the positive impact of the campaign, was eager to support this new initiative. During the organization's launch, Alicia gave an emotional speech. We all carry scars, whether visible or not. The important thing is that we don't have to face them alone. With support, understanding, and compassion, we can overcome any obstacle. Ethan, standing by her side, added, Our goal is to create a world where no one has to suffer in silence. Together, we can make a difference, one life at a time. Applause echoed through the auditorium, filling them with pride and gratitude. They knew they were transforming their own pain into something that could save lives. A few days later, sitting on the porch at home, Ethan took Alicia's hand. I'm so proud of everything we've accomplished together, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for us. Alicia smiled. With you by my side, I know we can achieve anything. Looking up at the stars, they felt a deep sense of peace. Thank you for watching the video to the end. We'd be happy if you could support us by commenting and subscribing to the channel.